Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, man. We're back at it, showing you the boxes in my boat. You know, this box that I'm gonna show you today is very, very important for making modifications on the fly. And it's this box right here. And when you look at this box, you look at it, and man, you're like, what in the heck do you have all these Sharpies for? Man, these right here are like so key, so critical to me, just for many, many different reasons. Let me just tell you a little bit about it. So like I've got all kinds of different color permanent Sharpies in here, you know, reds, blues, oranges, blacks, greens. What I can do with those is I can modify a lure on the fly. You know, so many times when you're out there tournament fishing and man, let's say you're catching them on a chartreuse shad color. Well, then you run out of chartreuse shad. Well, I can take a colored marker there and I can make me another bait look just like it. Or I can take like a bait like this. You know, last spring I was wanting something that I needed a real orange belly. So, you know, one of the things that I carry in here is obviously a bunch of markers. These work well on baits, but you know, they just don't stay on there. So another thing that I carry in here is some emery boards. These can double as a couple things. One, they're great hook sharpeners. They're just cheap. They come in a 20 pack for a couple bucks. You can sharpen hooks. They got two different sides. It's a really quick hook sharpener, you know, especially if you've lost yours or you forgot yours. But they also double as something that you can take like the coat of a crankbait off of. So let's say we got, you know, there's times when you look at a bait and it's just super shiny, super reflective, I can take that emery board just like I could sandpaper, and I can take that epoxy coat off. And what that does is a couple things. It takes that sheen off of it, that shine. You know, if I'm wanting just to have a dull bait, you can just see now it doesn't quite reflect as much light, but then I'm able to paint on that bait a little bit. You know, if I wanted to make that just a real dull chartreuse color on the side, I can do that now. So I kind of wipe it off. You can see that's how white that is versus how shiny that side is. This kind of a neat variant. So now, let's say a lot of times I want to make something chartreuse. So I will use, like a spike it marker. I use that a lot. Another thing I will use is just like chartreuse dye. And what I will do with that is I carry these little Q-tips in this box, and I can dip those in that chartreuse dye, and it just makes a very faint chartreuse on that bait, which sometimes is just all it takes. I don't want it bright chartreuse. I just want it real faint. And now it just completely changed the perspective of that bait, just making it a dull chartreuse. It's not a real bright chartreuse, you know, and sometimes for me, that's what I want. Just something that's not fully bright chartreuse. I just want it really, really dull. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just, I think I'm out. I've got an orange one, I've got a green pumpkin one, another orange, black, I know I've got to have a chartreuse in here. I must be out. I don't have a chartreuse, but you can do the same with watermelon. Let's say we take the other side, and just to show you what you can do to a bait, you can take a watermelon marker and just change the perspective of your bait. Sometimes maybe I'll only do it to the belly, sometimes I'll do it, you know, now I can make that bait almost look like a bluegill colored bait if I needed to. But you can change your bait really quick on the fly, make modifications on it that is a completely different perspective than maybe anything else you have in the boat, or maybe you've run out of baits. You know, I look at this bait right here, it's something that I modified last year. I was just wanting a little bit of chartreuse belly. You know, this bait right here was a bait I was throwing last spring. I needed something with a bunch of orange on it. Now to get that color orange, I use this worm chunk paint a lot. If you remember back to the Classic in 16 on Grand, I was actually taking this stuff right here and painting the tips of my crawl orange. It's just amazing how vibrant of an orange this can be when you take and you just paint the tips of a crawdad orange. Let me see if I can find a piece of plastic here. It's just a neat little modification, and I like this. I mean, it's just, man, so many times that orange in the spring is just super vibrant, and it just really changes that a bunch. Those are sticking together. but it's just a completely different, vibrant color. Now you'd need to pull those apart so it would dry. but it just looks really, really good. It's a great modification. That's what I was doing to my jig trailer when I won that classic in 16. It was really clear water, and I just, man, those crawdads had really bright orange pinchers, and I was able to use that worm paint right there to do that. Something else that I carry in here, I've had this forever. It's just a Permaline marker. It's by Fitzgerald Fishing. Man, you can just, when you open this thing, it's like paint in a marker, and then it's got a slit. Look how big that is. That's like for coloring my braid. It works really good for coloring braid. It will stay on there forever. What else do I have in here? You know, I've got some blue dye, you know, if I ever needed to try to make something blue, or June bug. I've got jig dip. Like, this is like if I needed to paint a spinnerbait blade, or I needed to paint the head of a jig, like I can just do it really quick with those Q-tips that I carry, dip it in there and just paint something on the head of a jig or on a spinnerbait blade. Works really, really well. You know, I've got orange and red, a bunch of different colors in there of that stuff, but this is a box, you can see how bright orange that is. That's a really cool color. Blue, like I got a blue marker. This is stuff that I just, man, it's always at my fingertips. I keep it right up here. I've had this box forever. I have to replace some of those Sharpies through the years, but you know, the Q-tips are a must to be able to paint stuff. And you can just modify a bait really quick, and it just gives me a lot of confidence. And confidence is everything when you're bass fishing. Looks like I got a little Berkeley Gulp, you know, tube in there, just if I needed to add some extra Berkeley Gulp on something. But man, that's my on-the-fly box, my modification box, you know, of stuff. I mean, I all the time am buying Sharpies and different color Sharpies, experimenting, trying to make a bait exactly match something that maybe I need to match for those given conditions for that given day. But maybe this will give you some ideas of something that you might need to carry in your boat. This stays right up there in the front. You know, I can just worm chunk, that's a super important one. The chartreuse dye, the markers, the Sharpies, the Q-tips. You know, obviously the hook files are really key to sand down a bait or to sharpen your hooks, but it's an important box that I carry in my boat. Just thought I'd share it with you guys to maybe get your brain around some of these ideas that maybe help you. Good luck in your fishing.